Hey, I'm Mr. Kev, and welcome to Power Oversteer. And in today's episode, we are previewing the 15th round of the 2013 IndyCar Series, the GoPro Grand Prix of Sonoma, and it is an exciting end to another IndyCar season. Going into this weekend's race after a 3-week break, we have ElusiveKev leading the championship, still on 453 points. Hasn't won since Texas, but his consistency always in the top 10, apart from his home race in Sao Paulo in round 4, has meant he's leading the championship by 31 points from Scott Dixon. Ryan Hunter-Ray is in third, but 388 points. He needs a miracle to win and retain his championship. Marco Andretti is in fourth with 377 points. Simon Pagenaud in fifth on 350 points after a great second place. Ahead of Dario Franchitti, who was third in the last race in Mid-Ohio. He has 342 points, 8 points behind Pagenaud. James Hinchcliffe is in seventh with 325 points. And the winner last time out, Charlie Kimball, the fourth first-time winner this year, has 325 points as well. Justin Wilson has 320 points in ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Tony Kanaan with 313 points. Just outside the top 10, didn't think I would be saying this year, is Will Power with 305 points. EJ Viso with 271 points is 12. Takuma Sato dropped down to 13th now with 265 points. That's after leading the championship heading into the Indy 500. Ed Compter is 14th with 250 points. Joseph Newgarden 245 points in 15th. Sebastian Bourdais 241 points. 233 points for Graham Rahal, a point ahead of his teammate James Jakes in 17th. Behind Jakes is Simona Di Silvestro, 226 points in a KV racing machine. And Rookie of the Year, the only rookie in IndyCar this year for the whole year, Tristan Vautier with 192 points, ahead of Oyo Sobe 167. The out of the ride IndyCar driver Alex Tagliani 163 points, and Sebastian Vettel also has 163 points. So that is the standings heading into this weekend's race. Let's look at some news from the last 3 weeks. And the big news for me actually going into this race is that Lucas Law, who's leading the American Le Mans Series LMP1 Championship and who won it last year, is a renowned German sports car driver. He is making his debut in IndyCar this weekend in Sonoma in the 97 Sarah Fisher Hartman racing machine in conjunction with RW Motorsports. And this is kind of out of the blue, and it is great to see Lucas Law in an open wheel machine for the first time since he won the German F3 title in 1998. He's one of my favourite sports car drivers, who I believe to be one of the best sports car drivers around, and he's had a very successful history in sports cars, and he's won the Porsche Super Cup in 1999 after becoming a Porsche factory driver after winning that German F3 title. He's won his class in the 24 Hours of Daytona, the GT class in 2001, won the GT class at Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta in 2002, won the GT2 class in the Spa 24 Hours in 2005, won the 24 Hours of Nürburgring in 2006, and in 2011 where they set the distance record of 156 laps on the Porsche 997 GT3 RSR, won the GT and GT2 class for 4 years in a row at the 12 Hours of Sebring from 2000 to 2003, and again in 2005, won in the FI GT, the NGT class in 2004, and in the American Le Mans Series, as I said, he's won the NMP1. He won it last year, he won it in 2008, won the NMP2 in 2006, won the GT in 2000, 2002, 2003. He's won at Le Mans in the GT class in 2002 and 2003 in the Porsche 911 GT3 RS, and he was the 2011 GT1 champion in the Nissan GT-R. He's won almost everything you can in GT in the sports car world, and so it's great to see him go into IndyCar as well. It's going to be very interesting to see how he does. As I said, 15 years away from an open wheel car. There is a test today at Sonoma, so hopefully he can get used to the fresh air. You can get a bit, the open cockpit, no windscreen in front of him for once, and even though he rides in the LMP1 with an open cockpit LMP1 car, but yeah, hopefully he'll do well, and I'm really looking forward to see how he does at Sonoma. Ryan Briscoe's returning in the Panther number 4 car this after he also was in it last time out, and Carlos Munoz was in it in the second race in Toronto. This is after in the first race Ryan Briscoe actually broke his wrist in an incident which involved Justin Wilson, Charlie Kimball, and a member Sebastian Zweger arriving on the scene and crashing for the heck of it. And so Ryan Briscoe, quick recovery, about a month. His wrist has got much better than enough to do a race, and this after he was in the booth in Mid-Ohio as well, and he did a very good job there. J.R. Hildebrand, who used to be in that 4 car for Panther, and then when he came last, crashed early in the early laps of the Indy 500, he got sacked from that position. Well, he's returning to the series in the 98 Brian Herter Motorsports Barracuda Racing machine, and he's going to share that drive with Luca Firby for the rest of the season. Firby will take the rounds at Baltimore and the doubleheader in Houston, when J.R. Hildebrand will take the finale in Fontana in mid-October. Also returning to a car he's familiar with, an 18 in the Dale Coyne machine, James Davison, who made his debut in Mid-Ohio last time out, came 15th in that race. Well, he's done enough to retain that seat for this weekend. He's not going to race in Baltimore. That's scheduled for Stephen Wilson. You might recognise the surname. Yes, it is his brother Justin Wilson who drives in the other Dale Coyne machine. And then we got like the calendar. Robin Miller in Racer magazine is after the sad demise of Speed, and the website's gone down. The channel is now Fox Sports 1 or something like that. But Robin Miller, he's moved to Racer magazine, and he had an article about next year's calendar. No surprises really, because nothing has really changed. The St. Petersburg, the season opener, it might start with a doubleheader. It looks very like it's going to start with a doubleheader to join the doubleheaders in Toronto, in Detroit, and in Houston. There's also speculation, very strong speculation, that the month of May for the Indy 500, at the beginning of the month, there might be a race on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Of course, F1 raced there from 2000 to 2007, and MotoGP has been visiting that circuit since 2008, if I remember correctly. Except it's kind of a big debate point though, this road course. Some see it as blasphemy, some see it as just like this short gimmick to really boost numbers there. There's no real kind of tradition there. It's just thrown in there to help boost figures, and some people have been not really open to ideas. Some are. The owners and the team owners are kind of open to it, and they kind of want it there. I'm on the fence about it because I'm not really sure how good it's going to be for IndyCar having this road course race at the beginning of the month, and they're going to have a little test on the road course on Labor Day week, on around 2nd of September next week. And so yeah, not next week, the week after. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what they find out from that, which way they're going to maybe run, and if that actually happens. Also, the season will try to end earlier before Labor Day weekend on early September to avoid clashing with like the NFL and of course the college football, which is absolutely huge. And so but the down point of that is that there could be a long off-season break. We're talking about half a year, 7 months off. So maybe they got to rethink about the start of the season, maybe start a bit earlier. Also, from Racer Magazine again, or actually Association Press, Michael Andretti has talked to Juan Pablo Montoya about possibly coming back to IndyCar, to American Open Wheel Racing. Of course, he's been very successful, won the kart championship in 1999, for the Indy 500 in 2000 for Chip Ganassi, and he's been racing with Chip Ganassi since 2006, or mid-2006, in NASCAR Sprint Cup and in Nationwide occasionally. And his Sprint Cup ride, after 7 years, that's going off the top of my head, 7 years, he's going to be let go from the 42 car. And there's been speculation, as Mike Andretti said, maybe bring him back to open wheel racing, and Montoya might go into Rolex Grand Am, where he's won the 24 Hours Daytona twice. He might even go into other sports car racing, into the new Grand Sports Car Racing Championship, I believe they call it, next year after LMS, American Le Mans Series, and the Grand Am merges. And so, yeah, lots of speculation where Montoya will go, and it's going to be very interesting to see if he does come back. Of course, Montoya also raced in F1, famously won the Monaco Grand Prix and won 7 Grand Prix in F1 before a very unusual exit from the sport in 2006, where McLaren weren't best pleased about his sports injuries and such, and he duly left F1 to go to NASCAR, where he's only won 2 races, both on road courses. Perhaps should have won a brake card for 100 a couple of years ago, until he got a pit lane speed penalty late in the race. And so, yeah, never quite worked out on NASCAR for Montoya. Only one top 10 finish in the championship in his 7 years. And so that is some of the news before the GoPro Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. As you can probably see in front of me, I've got my notes for the track facts. And so after that very long news segment, there was lots of news in that 3 weeks. We've now got the GoPro Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma track facts taking place at Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, California. It's been on the championship, it's been a USAC championship car circuit, raced at the circuit in 1970, and since 2005 Indycar has visited the track or returned into the circuit. In 2006 we saw Marco Andretti, the rookie then, very long time ago now, 7 years would you believe it, won his first career race there. He was the youngest winner in the IndyCar series at the time, after as 19 years, 5 months and 14 days. That got beaten by Graham Rahal at the 2009 St. Petersburg race. And IndyCar, it races on the 2.2 mile, 3.5 kilometer version of the road course, the same as the AMA superbikes used around here. Circuit uses the nice carousel round down the hill. If you ever seen the Sonoma circuit, great undulating circuit. It is very tight though, very tight, and this is much different from the NASCAR layout that is used, where they don't go around the carousel, but they do both use the turn 7A of the corner, but it skips to the headwind prior to the front straight on IndyCar. And last year the circuit got kind of altered, and the back hairpin after straight out of the carousel was a bit tighter, and it didn't use the outer loop that NASCAR uses. And turn 9 was widened by 10 feet, while turn 11 at the hairpin was extended by 200 feet, and the racing, the passing was a bit more exciting, I thought, so the changes definitely did work. And the GoPro Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma, well, it was first won in 1970, as I said. USAC visited it. Dan Gurney, the legend in the All-American races, in his own team, the Eagle for Chassis, still can't say it. And so when we returned in 2005, it was Tony Kanaan who won it in the Andretti Green Racing Machine, and as I said, Marco won it in his Andretti Green the next year. Scott Dixon won in 2007 for Chip Ganassi, then Harry Castroneves for Penske in 2008. David Kitty won for Chip Ganassi in 2009. But since then, it's been Team Penske territory, just like Chip Ganassi owns Mid-Ohio in recent years. Penske has owned Sonoma. Will Power won twice in a row in 2010-2011, and this is after a very bad crash in 2009 when Nelson Philippe at the top of the hill actually crashed his car, and Will Power went into him, and Nelson Philippe hurt his back. Will Power, had damaged, had quite a few injuries as well, and was out for the rest of the year. So, great recovery for Will Power there. And last year, Ryan Briscoe, his last win in IndyCar to date, won in his Penske as well in 85 laps, just over 2 hours, with an average speed of 95.74 miles per hour. And there's also been a race that's seen Indy Lights race, and we've seen the likes of Marco Andretti win in 2005 before his win in IndyCar in 2006, Ray Cunningham Alex Lloyd, Richard Antonucci, Frank Prier, J.R. Hildebrand in 2009 on the way to his championship, and J.K. Ernie in 2010 as well. So, it's been a very successful track for Penske. They got the most wins here with 4. Will Power, the most successful driver, with 2. So, yeah, it's a very tight and undulating circuit. It's great to watch the cars go around. Don't expect too much overtaking, but there has been a couple of incidents in recent years, especially last year when we saw Alex Tagliani take out Ryan Hunter-Reay in the dying embers of the championship. But thankfully for Ryan Hunter-Reay, it did work out in the end for him after a great win in Baltimore, and then of course in Fontana, finishing where he needed to be while Power crashed out. So that's some track facts about the GoPro Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. Let's do some predictions now. So, predictions for the GoPro Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. And as I said, you got to look out for Team Penske, looking for the 4th win in a row around this circuit. And look for Will Power. He got a good 4th place in Mid-Ohio, and he's got good form, it seems. He's got great pace now. Just hasn't been getting the finishes. As in Toronto in the doubleheaders, made 2 mistakes in those races. So didn't get the points that would have really lifted it up in the standings. And so yeah, as I said, he's the most successful driver around here with 2 wins, and yeah, enough for him to be right up there. Enough for Hale Never to be up there as well, won in 2008 as I said, and he's on a roll in this championship. He took out 2 more points out of Scott Dixon last race in Mid-Ohio, finishing just in front of him, having a little train at the end there, and Scott Dixon was right behind him, staring at that Penske in the last few laps. He must be thinking, he must be so annoyed with that. But there's 31 points still is the gap, and as we saw last year, as I said, with Ryan Hunter-Reay, getting tagged out, the championship can just change on the dime. And so, yeah, Harry Nevis, Penske very strong here. He's got to note to get a strong finish and finish ahead of Dixon just to solidify the championship lead going into the last 4 races or 3 rounds. Also look out for, of course, Chip Ganassi, and it looks like they really got a handle on this car. And 1st and 3rd and 7th for the last time out, with Charlie Kimball winning for the first time, much deserved as well. And Kimball, you always got to look out for him now on these road courses, and he's had a very good finish history on the road courses this year, with Alabama coming in 4th, and of course winning last time out in Mid-Ohio. And so in Sonoma, got to look for him to be a top 5 threat, maybe even challenging for the victory again, get back-to-back victories maybe. Also look for Scott Dixon, of course, to take points out of Hero Neves. He had that 3 wins on the trot before he went to Mid-Ohio, where he's the most successful driver. Surely he was going to win there, but it didn't quite work out, came in 7th. And Dario Franchitti, great form in the last 4 races, 3rd, 4th and 3rd last time out. So yeah, look for him to threaten in the top 5, and he threatened top 5 in the championship as well, with Simon Pagenaud just 8 points ahead of him. Andretti Autosport, team of the season so far, of course, and you got to look out for them. They kind of lost their way a bit. They haven't really been challenging with the victories lately, but look for Ryan Hunter-Reay, of course, who did show good pace last year, but as I said, had an incident, so maybe look for him to be up there. Marco Andretti said good history around Sonoma, winning in 2005 in Indy Lights, 2006 his first IndyCar win, and so far only 1 of 2 wins in IndyCar, strangely enough. And he's threatened to win a number of races this year, and sadly for him it's kind of fallen out of the championship battle, but he's still 11 points behind Ryan Hunter-Reay. You can still salvage 3rd in the championship, so that'll be interesting battle going into the last 3 rounds. And so yeah, look for Marco Andretti to be strong there as well, and their teammate James Hinchcliffe getting a much needed top 10 last time. I've been so hit and miss this season, Hinchcliffe, but yeah, look for him to challenge as well. And EJ Viso as well. He's had a up and down season, but he hasn't had many incidents where we're going, oh, that's the old crash Viso, the guy you always used to go, well, it's much more consistent, more technical problems here, and so yeah, it's much better to see him, he's like reined himself in a bit. But getting a good finish here, could propel him into the top 10, challenging for that spot which Tony Kanaan holds at the moment. And speaking of Tony Kanaan, last two races in 24th place in Mid-Ohio after, isn't it, like the wheel wasn't secured, and in Toronto again just tapping the wall and being one of the few retirements in the second race. And it kind of derailed for KV Racing, unfortunately. They had a good run up to Iowa, but in the last few races it just kind of hasn't worked out for them. And I saw an article on Indycar where they talked about how Di Silvestro there and Tony Kanaan were kind of going on similar paths, but now we're going to split them, go for the individual styles more, please them a bit more that way, and hopefully produce a better setups, better understand the car, and hopefully they'll be back up there again. And of course Tony Kanaan won the first IndyCar race here, as I said, in 2005. Who else to look out for? Well, you always look out on the road courses for Simon Pagenaud, last time out in Mid-Ohio, and as I said, battling for fifth in the championship, trying to hold off the charging Dario Franchitti, the stuttering James Hinchcliffe, and maybe even Charlie Kimball is on a good run as well, and he's looking very strong again. Look out for Sebastian Bourdais, who had a good run last year in the Dragon before having an incident with Joseph Newgarden. Sadly, he kind of injured Newgarden's hand a bit, and yeah, maybe look for Dragon Racing to be up there a bit like in Toronto. And they weren't that bad in Mid-Ohio, just got stuck in the pack a bit, and the strategy didn't quite work out for them. Look out for Newgarden, as I said, good run last year, unfortunately, fortunate end. And you got a top 10 in Alabama. Didn't really have the chance to show his stuff in Mid-Ohio, but he's very good on these street courses, on the road courses, and look out for him to be up there as well. And Justin Wilson, the Del Coyne machine, look for him, very consistent year from him, always been around the top 10, but hasn't really challenged higher up. His best finish is third at Long Beach, and he's had third at Detroit as well, and fifth at Indy as well, but he hasn't been really challenging for the top 5 places, so maybe look for him to finally do that a bit here. And as I said, look out for Di Silvestro with the setup changes, maybe she'll be right up there again, and just outside the top 10, very encouraging weekend for her in Mid-Ohio. Look out for Graham Rahal and Ryan Briscoe as well on his return. I said, won last year, defending that crown of race winner. Maybe he will do well in the Panther machine as well. And of course, look out for Lucas Law on his debut in the 97 Surfisher Harman Racing machine in conjunction with RW Motorsports. Very short name, but yeah, that is my prediction. I think I will go for a Penske. I think I will go for Will Power to grab a win finally this time this year. Long drought, over years in these one, but look for Will Power to finally get a win. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and that is my preview of the GoPro Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma for 2013, and I'll be back with a preview of the F1 race, the Belgium Grand Prix this weekend for Formula 1. So till then, thanks for watching, cheerio.